Hey guys, just going to go through some practical applications of the dashboarding. The whole idea with dashboarding is obviously to bring your data to life. So you've captured it on the Capture app. You want to analyze it now and actually make actionable programming decisions based on the data you've collected. So in terms of best way to do that, dashboard is definitely the way to go. So you can see from our generic dashboard here, we can see a range of different capabilities of what we can actually get through. So you can see my back squat progress over the last year in terms of my estimated 1RM. I'm down 11% based off the last 365 days. And we can see those kind of different touch points across the year, which is nice to see. In terms of mobility, I can actually see my asymmetries the last 365 days and see the progress of both sides. So I'm up 8% on my left-hand side, up 5% on my right, and I've got an asymmetry of 2%. That might be a thing of I want to hit sub 10% or maintain sub 10%, and that could be a nice aspect to look at. I've also got different kind of targets here. So I've got a target for my lower body power in terms of a CMJ. I've got it here, and I can see if I'm up, down, etc. Then we've got our unilateral type stuff between a different group. So we've got our single leg CMJ. How am I stacking up against the sports science group? And we can see different aspects of that as well. And then finally, if we want to do a different kind of display on targets, we can actually see this spread across this graph here. So in terms of my 10-5, my reactive strength, how I'm actually getting along with it. So my target is actually 2, but how have I progressed the last while? And these different touch points. This might be different times of the year I'm doing testing, and throughout this, I'm getting my programs and alter my programs as needs be. So I'm making those actionable decisions as I go along. In terms of different aspects of using it, what we could actually also do is if I flick onto my profiling sample, this is a nice little look to it as well. So what we've got here is we've done a testing battery with an athlete on, say, week 1 versus week 8. And all of a sudden, we've got these different data points to have a look at. So we might start off with a simple kind of movement quality assessment. So we're looking at our mobility here. And in terms of that, what are the big elephants in the room, or what is above 10% for me? So we've got to have a look at maybe knee to wall. That's still above 10%. That can be an aspect we kind of go after. Hip external rotations above 10%. We can go after that one. Other than that, I'm looking okay. Internal rotation is fine. Straight leg raise. So lower body mobility, I'm okay. But then for our upper body, we can have a look at some shoulder stuff, torso rotation, etc. We're looking okay there, under the 10%. We've got some stability aspects. So our glute bridge, single leg, our side plank, our plank, how are we getting on there? Again, just going through different types of assessment that you're doing in your testing battery. This is completely open to you, and a little balance assessment as well. In terms of our kind of jump profile, we've got it here. We've got a squat jump, we've got our CMJ, and then some reactive strength testing with our drop jump. And you can actually set these targets like we talked about before. So how are we getting on in terms of the targets we've set out for them? So these are our KPIs for that athlete to hit, and how are they getting on? So squat jump, 98%, that's pretty okay. But our CMJ is actually only 72%. We need to work on that. And our RSI, we're slightly off that target, but we're getting there close as well. So we can actually make actionable decisions on our program based on these results I'm actually getting in my testing battery. And then in terms of strength as well, we've got a classic lower body and upper body push pull as well. So in terms of our target, are we hitting 2 times body weight? Are we hitting 1.5 times body weight? Whatever those kind of standards are for you, you set them for the athlete, and let's see how close to them they actually are. And then all of a sudden, I can actually look back on this dashboard and see, okay, I can go after this type of mobility for my movement quality, this type of aspect for my jumps or power type stuff. And then in terms of strength, how close am I there? And you've got literally a strengths versus weaknesses of that athlete, and you can see what you kind of go after. So that's very much like the profiling side of things. And then in terms of actually monitoring over time, that's a different aspect. So we can actually look at that as well. So if I go into my monitoring sample, I'm going to go at Adam here, and we're going to have a look at different aspects. So the way I best describe this is probably what are the key lifts of the last 6 weeks that we want to progress on. So based on my testing battery, I've got my profile. I've now made a 6-week program based off that dashboard, based off those results. Now we actually have their key lifts or key exercises that we want to work on. So in terms of monitoring that over time, then what we can do is, okay, we've got our back squat versus CMJ. So obviously, ideally, what we want here is as our back squat goes up, our CMJ goes up. And looking here, our back squat has gone up 11%, so has our CMJ. So we're going well there. But if it was a case where our CMJ was actually going down while our back squat was going up. Well, what can we do in our programming to actually alter that and make sure it's going the way we actually want it to? Then we've got our back squat wholly as an estimated 1RM. Has that gone up? Obviously, that's what we want to work on. Happy days. That's a key lift. It's gone up. Our bench press. So let's say, for example, Adam may have got an injury here to his shoulder, playing rugby, whatever it is. It's gone down 9%. We've monitored that over time now, and we can try get back up to baseline, etc. In terms of some plyometrics that we were looking at, we're just looking at pogos going forward. That was one of the measurements we were actually hitting once a week. Let's see the progress on that over time. And we see, okay, happy days, we're on the way up, that's fine. And then because he's got that shoulder injury, let's have a quick look at the differences and can we get back up to baseline as quick as we can before we really start focusing on strength aspects as well. So hopefully you can see the different variations of how to utilize this. I think the best way of going about it is definitely first having that generic dashboard and seeing the different capabilities of these dashboards, but then you can really break it down into either profiling, monitoring, or different ways of like comparing or driving intent as well in terms of your athletes.